Well, welcome back to episode 8 of Nause.
Thank you for having me.
Back by unpopular demand.
Unpopular demand.
So I say episode 8, somewhat awkward as I said last week. Episode 7 was filmed and I may have lost it, and the audio and the cameras.
Early contender for Clown of the Week, or are we locking that in early doors?
It might be Clown of the Month if I'm
Perfect.
honest. Well, let's get the elephant out of the room. Six Nations is over.
Good tournament.
Good tournament, miserable it's done.
Yeah, what do we do now?
Yeah, literally, exactly. And with that comes the sad news. This will be the last episode of the rugby Nause off for a little while. Next week will be the bore off. You're going to do football with Rob, I think.
Apparently so.
Is he noisy enough?
I don't think either of us are. So we're going to go into a slight hibernation until autumn, and then we can come back out and we can talk about the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, well, summer actually. We've got we've obviously got the warm-up games, and then potentially maybe a Premiership final or a European Cup final special.
Interesting, yeah.
Only if Saracens don't make it.
I'm already looking forward to Saracens making it, and the stick you're going to get, because it's going to be apparently a Harlequin Saracens final.
I'm going to be on a strike. I'm on strike if Saracens make it. But moving away from that, this weekend, let's dive straight into it. We'll do in sequence of games. First game, Scotland-Italy. What do you think?
I thought it was a really interesting game. Interestingly, I thought Scotland were there for the taking. I thought Italy could have won, potentially should have won. Scotland obviously had their injuries for the weekend, but they, again, story of the tournament, they didn't quite convert when they needed to. They didn't quite have the quality to get that win, to get the elusive win, and they fell just short. And Scotland, with that try at the end, probably made it look slightly a bit more convincing than it should have been. But
yeah, I think that's really been the story. I think we actually said it right at the beginning when we did our very first episode of this. I had really high hopes for Italy. I had high hopes of them, potentially this being their tournament to show they really did deserve their place. And I think the problem is when people look back on this, they're just going to look at the results. They're not going to look at the fact that Italy really did show that they are contenders this time around. They actually played some really exciting rugby. And I'd argue, other than the French, probably the most exciting rugby of the tournament.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think from an Italian point of view, and it seems weird to say this, but they've got reason to have hope going into the World Cup. I mean, obviously they're not going to pull up trees, but they can have some big performances there. They can do well if they play rugby like they did in the Six Nations.
They can, but they have to beat either France or New Zealand. Yeah,
so they're going home early, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
I think, do you know what? If they can, I'm literally just looking up at our board that's got it all here. If they can, if they can't beat Uruguay and Namibia,
they will. They've shown enough over the last 5-6 weeks to show that they've progressed. They've got some really good players, not only kind of in the forwards now, they've got some skillful backs, some quick backs. Garbisi's played really well. Cappuccio, that we all know about.
Cappuccio? Do you mean Capuzzo?
Yeah, that's it.
Cappuccio, go with Dombront in your list of names you can't say.
They're doing all right. But yeah, it seems weird to say it with their wooden spoon, but they're making slow progress. They're looking good.
I think the one thing that I think I would look at is I think the gap between Italy and Georgia has now widened.
Yeah.
I think Italy would quite comfortably beat Georgia if they were to play them now.
I think even at the weekend, Georgia, I don't know who they played, but they struggled to beat one of the other smaller
Tier
rugby.
2 nations.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think if they've probably ended that argument that they're not meant to be in the Six Nations. Yes, they didn't get the win that they probably deserved. And I think had they been at full strength against Wales in Rome, they could have turned that one. But do you know what? Real leaps forward for Italy, but also real leaps forward for Scotland. I think Scotland have finally shown that they can emerge as actual contenders in the Six Nations. They're no longer that Scotland this weekend will take 5 points, or 4 points, whatever it is.
Scotland played well.
They've been exciting.
Again, they've got a really good starting team. I don't know whether they have the strength in depth. And again, similar to Italy, they've been tasked with a very hard Rugby World Cup pool later this year.
Yeah, Ireland or South Africa they need to beat.
Yeah. I can't see that happening, to be honest.
I can't, but Ireland, and we'll come on to Ireland later, however, doesn't matter how exceptional they are the professional World Cup bottle jobs.
Yeah, but their team now is better than it ever has been.
Agreed. I think it's going to be a tough one. The real one for that is their last game. Ireland South Africa is the last game of that group. I think had it been the first game, that could have knocked the wind out of their sails and they really struggle. If they make it through, they beat everyone else, then they guarantee a quarter final, then That's brilliant. They do have whatever happens, have a really tough quarter-final with probably not Italy. It's going to be France or New Zealand.
Yeah.
In a World Cup quarter-final, you're either playing the home nation or you're playing what will
One
arguably
of
be
the best
one of the
teams in the
favourites.
world.
Can they then put it all on the line at that point? That's your question for Ireland.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go back to Scotland. I think massive leaps forward. As we said a number of times in the build-up to this, there are now genuine players across the back line.
Yeah.
There are genuine players across forwards. It's not just one or two players that when they lose them, they just fall apart. And I think that was really shown this weekend against a spirited Italy side without the two players that have carried them for the last 5 years in Russell and Hogg. Blair Kinghorn, how good.
Kinghorn had a really good game.
Good.
Yeah, very good game.
And to be able to turn around and do that without their top players was really nice to see.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. Middle game. France versus Wales. We all knew what the result was going to be.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I saw lots of people saying positive sign for Wales, the fact they scored over 20 points.
Well, I might get this wrong, but I think they were the only team to score 4 tries against France.
They were, but I would argue that the French were just chasing a bonus point.
They were chasing a bonus point. The French win was already done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with
They
you.
needed the bonus point win to put themselves in contention if
But
Ireland...
Wales did look better going forward than they had at any stage. So I'd rather have a performance like that towards the back end of the tournament than do it in the first game and then not replicate it.
Yeah, agreed. I still think Wales are as bad as I think Wales will get lucky to get a win against Italy. I think they were lucky with that. I think
They definitely were. I mean, we mentioned it in the non-pod last week, but there's little things in games, and we again move on to it in the England game with a red card. There's little things in games which turn tides. The week before against Wales, they went the length of the pitch, knocked it on over the line, penalty against them, and then Wales scored.
Yeah.
Things change, and international rugby is so tight. These things do have a massive say in who wins the games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an interesting one. I think Gatland's got his work cut out for him ahead of the World Cup. I think they are lucky in that their pool it's not easy. They've got Fiji to contend with. As long as they can beat Fiji, I think they'll go through in second or first.
Yeah.
Wales, unlike Ireland though, in the last 3 World Cups, arguably since 2007, have been actually quite strong. They've always been good at World Cups, so I wouldn't put it past them to have a duff Six Nations and then turn around and do really well.
Yeah, but I don't think they've ever gone into a World Cup with this amount of question marks above their heads. One positive I would give Wales, they've actually blooded a few more younger players now. You look at someone like Rio Dyer, I thought he had a great tournament. Yeah. They do have a few younger players coming through now, whereas they didn't. Like we said it, they either had the old has-beens past it, like the Falataus, or they had people who were very young and were promising but didn't have any.
Do you know who the person I think who really added some go forward, and we said it right at the beginning, they finally included Nick Tompkins.
Yeah.
Carried really well, did brilliantly against Dante, who's a big unit.
Yeah,
I thought
we called it from the beginning. We know what he does. I've never seen him be tackled by the first bloke. Always carries well, always makes his tackles. I think he's an incredible player.
Yeah. Okay, France. I called it at the beginning they would win it. I think, really interestingly, considering their last 2 games of the tournament, I wish they'd played like that against Ireland. It would have been, and it would have been the last game.
Arguably they did. I think they
Ireland
did.
shut it down.
So I think we both had our reasons as to why I was going for Ireland before the tournament and you were going for France. My reasoning was, if I had been at the Stade de France, I think I probably would have gone France. There's not much to call between those 2 teams. On the day, when Ireland played France, Ireland were the better team by probably the margin which they beat them by. But then France have grown back into the tournament since.
Well, so that's my question to you then, is if France lose to New Zealand opening game and Ireland can somehow beat South Africa and it ends up with Ireland top of their group and France second, who are you backing in that quarter-final? Ireland or France?
I don't know.
That's a really tough one, isn't it? I think it's the other way around. If the French beat New Zealand and win their group and Ireland comes second...
Which I think they will.
I think they might as well.
The first game of the season, Stade de France, first game of the World Cup, at the Stade de France.
Well, that's
going to be huge.
But that's a completely different ask. If you turn around the French who've won their group riding high, who then play a South Africa who've just lost... an Ireland who've just lost to South Africa.
Yeah.
I can't see Ireland beating France at that point, and Ireland yet again...
But I think we said it as well before the tournament. France have a lot of injuries. Of all the 6 teams competing, they have the most. I don't have a stats.
I was going to say, the only thing would be is, of that French team that played England and Wales, who would you pick in ahead? I think, obviously, you're missing a couple of wingers, but the guys who played in the back three were exceptional. And I think the one thing we can say for guaranteed, other than maybe whatever you called him, Capuunza or Kaputz, they had the best back three in the tournament by a long, long way.
Who, France?
And France and Ireland, between the pair of them, I thought they were both amazing. And I think that's where the vast majority of their injuries are. It's going to be, and I think the other one is Fiku grew into it really nicely. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, Fiku did. He played really well.
And the back row against England were savage.
But you know that, I'm surprised they didn't front up more against Ireland, to be fair, because we know that French pack is just heavyweight.
Yeah.
They're so big and physical, pretty athletic, to be honest, if you look at them as well. They're going to take some stopping at the World Cup. Last
game. And we're probably going to end up spending a while on this for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. But last game, Ireland, England in Dublin. The result, I think we predicted, we knew. Do you know what? I thought England put in a really good showing until the ridiculous call to send Stewart off. I
thought it was a really good game until that decision. England fronted up, having been battered the week before. They played really well. Ireland maybe didn't play as well as they had been. I don't know whether that's Grand Slam nerves, the pressure of being at home. They didn't play as well as we'd seen, but the red card was a turning point.
I still think their back three were exceptional. I still think. Do you know personally played really well?
I know who you're going to say.
Henshaw.
Oh, I was going to say.
Well, Hansen was brilliant, but is that who you think I was going to say? Hansen?
No, I was going to say the hooker. I thought Sheehan was
insane.
My man of the match. He was outstanding.
But really interestingly, I was a little bit, because obviously Henshaw's been out injured. He's not had that much game time.
He did play well.
Ringrose has been running the show there. I thought he was brilliant.
And that's the thing now with Ireland. They have so much strength and depth. The one position you probably would say that they don't have strength and depth is fly half.
Yeah.
But other than that, you could literally pick.
Well,
any
Sexton
of their
limping
team.
off again.
Yeah.
I said it at the start. He is a real. He is. Do you know what the issue is?
He's got 6 months now to.
Well, he has. But my issue is he's got a tough run through. You've got a big old Romanian side to play. You've got a physical Tongan side to play.
Yeah, but
you've got South Africa.
I'm half wondering if you can rest him against Tonga, or you're not going to play him every single pool game.
No, but I think Romania you could probably almost 100% rest him. Tonga depends what they show up. Like Ireland should be able to win without him.
Yeah.
Scotland will be a tough one. I think they will come to play. The thing is, if they have to play against South Africa.
Yeah.
That's a big physical game.
They have to play against South Africa and Scotland.
Well, they have to get him through the South Africa game. That's my issue. Is let's say they go through and they win that South Africa game, they top their group, which you'd expect them on current form to do. They're playing France. Probably we're going to say they're probably playing New Zealand. I don't see them beating New Zealand without Sexton. No. So they have to get him through that game. Otherwise, they're in real trouble. They lose Sexton.
But then if you're worried about the quarterfinal, then you could also say the same if they do get through the semi-final and then the final.
100%. So that's why, and that's the same thing I said at the beginning of the Six Nations. They have put all of their eggs into a 30. Is he 39?
Yeah, I was going to say 7.
He's either 38 or 39. 38, 39-year-old fly half who has a terrible record at staying on a pitch. I don't know if it's through his fault or conditioning.
The thing is, though, they have tried to blood other fly halves. I remember Billy Burns.
I think half-heartedly, though. They've never really
definitely
given
half-heartedly, but is that because A, Johnny Sexton's so good?
He is so good.
The people who they've tried to blood haven't been good enough.
I think he is so good, and I think he has the ability to win a World Cup. But the problem is, what happens? It's the 2003 argument for England. What happens if Wilkinson goes down? Would we have won the 2003 World Cup? Probably not. If Sexton goes down, I don't see them winning it. And they then built all of this momentum up to being number one in the world, the best side in the world, to then lose again in the quarterfinal.
But the whole kind of bottle job island narrative, I do think is slightly unfair, especially for this World Cup. If they were to lose against what we're saying, New Zealand or France, it's a one-off game in the World Cup. I don't think that's bottling it. I think the narrative.
Well, they've been stitched up by the draw. They've been stitched up by the draw big time.
Which is probably another discussion for another day.
Well, you can spend an entire pod on the draw. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, deserved winners. Ireland were brilliant. Take away the red card, it wouldn't have been any different with the result. They were going to beat us. Yeah. Flip it over to England. Positives, definitely. Much better for the first 38 minutes or whatever it was. I think we'll come on to Stewart. My view is he's been very hard done by. I thought Farrell had a good game, and I'm saying that that hurts to say.
Good.
Thought he had a good game.
Clip for the week.
Yeah, brilliant. I thought that Manu Tuilagi.
Yeah,
did what Manu
Tuilagi kind
does.
of proved that's what we've been missing.
Here's my question:
it seems
Tuilagi
harsh on Ollie
Tuilagi or
Lawrence.
Lawrence? I think Tuilagi. The difference is Tuilagi. We know what Tuilagi is. He
Yeah.
knows what he is. He's played international rugby for years and years and years.
Tuilagi is definitely more of a battering ram than Ollie Lawrence,
Yeah.
but I think Ollie Lawrence probably brings a wider game to the.
Yeah, I think so.
his
And I think in
he's got
terms of the
subtle
future,
hands.
he's the way forward. But
Yeah. Anyway, World Cup you're taking both,
Yeah.
aren't you, sir?
yeah, I thought Watson had a good game, solid, especially considering we were down a fullback.
Yeah, I think Watson's probably nailed on his place.
I think he was shooting anyway.
He's a test international,
Yeah.
isn't he? He plays very well.
I was a bit disappointed with Henry Arundel.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for weeks. I've been really excited to see him go, and I think.
But I mean, as
it's
soon as
against
the red
Ireland.
card, it's
Well,
against
yeah.
Ireland, and once the red card hits, it's,
But he was almost a Hassel Collins second game in, just not really.
Yeah.
Didn't really feature.
Yeah.
Partly through the red card and England not really spreading the ball, but I think he's a player that I thought did go and look for the ball. So
yeah.
yeah, an interesting one. Your best mate. Do you know what? Having watched it back, I don't think he had a bad game. He's not setting the world on fire.
Who?
Don Brandt.
No.
It didn't.
No.
He was not. He wasn't. He wasn't. Oh my god, he was terrible. I just don't think he was. He
The
really
problem is, and I just don't know who you'd replace him with.
Zach Mercer.
Zach Mercer's one option, but again, is he too lightweight for international? I know he's playing abroad now, but there's probably a reason why he hasn't been selected before. Ben Earl, maybe. I
He's
think
more lightweight.
I think when Courtney Laws comes back, that changes the back row, second row a bit. And then obviously you've got the other Curry brother to come back as well. So
It's interesting that Good, the Bad, the Rugby, Tyndall was calling for Billy to be back in, which I think you would probably agree with, and I would desperately not.
I think Billy's better than Don Brandt.
The way that Tyndall was selling Vanapola was that he genuinely strikes fear. And let's be honest, if I'm lining up and he's carrying the ball hard, I'm really not looking forward to that impact. And I probably know I'm going flying back. But
Yeah.
I'm probably thinking the same thing with Don Brandt. The difference is with Don Brandt is I'm probably worried about how he's going to offload it as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Billy, I know if I get enough of a hit on him and someone makes a second hit, there's a good chance
He's
he'll
going down.
spill the ball.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think throughout the whole tournament, England have now progressed. I don't think we've been brilliant. I think Borthwick is slowly piecing
I think they're
together in
stuck
his
between
mind the best team.
Yeah, they're stuck between two stars, aren't they? They're very much stuck between the way Borthwick wants to move them forward and what Eddie was doing.
Yeah.
So
I think there's reasons to be positive. I don't think it's all
Yeah.
doom and gloom.
no, there's no despair, and as long as you can beat Japan or Argentina, we're probably going through to a quarterfinal. And you'd argue,
I still think we top the group.
I'd like to hope. Well, that's classically English, isn't it? That we would like to say that, but
We should.
we should do. Really, we should do.
Yeah.
And then you got a tasty quarterfinal with either.
Wales or Australia.
Well, just from a neutral, from anyone's perspective, you'd love to see that Australia game, wouldn't you?
I mean, you also wouldn't hate a England-Wales game.
No, that's just because I can't stand the Welsh. 'Cause
With regards to England, though, I think we've missed out the main contentious issue. We haven't.
we somehow
touched-
skirted it. haven't
Yeah,
we?
let's not skirt it because I think we both probably have strong feelings.
Well,
on it.
I'm going to bring it to this. I might actually get away with being clown of the month. I might actually get away with it because
Mate,
Yaku-
we recorded a full podcast last week and you didn't record it.
Yeah, okay, but I'm still going to go with the fact that Yaku Piper and whoever the TMO was, it was another South African.
Do you know what? I give him slight. I don't think he's a full
by the law
on clown.
it is.
By the law, it's a red.
But you have to understand, like
Yeah.
anyone who's played, anyone who has done that, has run for a bouncing ball, last minute gone to pull out and look after something. He's done the responsible thing there. If he's carried on, he's genuinely going to
Well,
absolutely
the
go through
only
it,
thing he could have done is tackled him,
which would have been off
which
the ball
would have been
tackle
off
as
the
well.
ball. So it's.
Is that a yellow card and off the ball tackle?
I think full stop. This is a rugby incident and it's not a red card. I think, as you said,
I don't think it's even a penalty.
I don't either. Anyone who's played the game knows that is not a red card.
I think the one thing that has really sold it is the fact he's had to go off for an HIA and he's failed. And I think that unfortunately is not going to stand.
Well, but also in terms of a rugby incident, the mitigating circumstances
low.
is that he's low. So what is Freddie Stewart meant to do?
It'll be really interesting to
Also,
see.
he has 0.6 seconds to react.
Human reaction time. Here goes science
So
with the nerd.
so what are you going to do?
0.2 of a second is the fastest you can react. So he's got 0.4 of a second and he's already at full pace.
Yeah.
So
It's not a red.
no, it's definitely not a red card. It'd be very interesting, as nausea as knows it sounds, to read the report after he has his his hearing, because
well, like I heard someone say yesterday or today, I think obviously was it Cyril Bailly for France for prop gets 3 weeks for absolutely clattering into someone's head, fully purposeful. It'd be interesting to see how many.
I think
how much
worst
French
case
gets.
scenario. I think worst case scenario
a one
has to be no. I think worst case scenario has to be red card was sufficient, because there's no malicious. There's not malicious at all. He's trying to protect himself. He's trying to protect Keenan, and it's just like you say, it's a rugby incident. I think personally, I'd like to see an apology of we need to. It's not going to happen. But we need to understand the laws in context.
Yeah.
But what it will be is, I think, by the letter of the law, it's a red card. There's no maliciousness, it's not careless in any way. It's just red card was enough.
Yeah, agreed.
But I'm giving Clown of the Week to, I've been told I'm not allowed to say World Rugby. So I'm going to call it the IRB. Clown of the Week to the IRB and their non-understanding of rugby context. And I think that's the issue.
I think we can agree on that one for once.
Okay, we'll actually move on to we're going to play the tournament rather than play of the week. Player of the tournament and Clown of the tournament. I'm actually going to be interested to see what you say for that. And we're not allowed to say IRB. Okay, so player of the tournament. Let's split it forward and back for you. Let's start with your forward of the tournament.
Forward of the tournament's really interesting. I think Flamont from France had a really, really strong one. I think we mentioned him earlier, but Sheehan had a really strong tournament. Certainly no one from England. Certainly no one from Wales.
Definitely not.
Negri, I think, had a fantastic tournament.
Yeah, Mr. Consistent.
Yeah. I don't know who I'd go as a standout performer. Van der Vlier had a brilliant tournament. There's been a few. Who are you thinking?
See, I'm along all the same lines, but the big difference I think for me, and the reason I'm going for him is I know we said they've improved massively, but Negri has filled the Sergio Parise shoes.
Yeah.
He really has.
Seamlessly.
And you look at the number of metres he's carried, the tackles, the impact he's had. For me, he's been brilliant. So for me, it's Sebastian Negri.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. So we're actually agreeing quite a lot
which
on
is
this week's pod.
A bit odd.
Let's move to backs where we might have a debate.
Yeah, Marcus Smith. No, I'm joking. Who is your back of the tournament?
I'm going to go for Ramos. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. Not only the tries he scores, the French flair, the jouet, the penalty kicking, the goal kicking, I think he's been absolutely unreal. And it feels weird, I think, again, we've had this conversation, it feels weird that Ireland have won all these tournaments, all these games, and won the tournament, and don't necessarily have a standout player. I think that's because they're, as a collective, so good. But I think Ramos has shone in that French team.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. It's been really tough because I think Ireland have been so good in terms of, as a team, you put all those players together, they've been unbelievable. But because they've been so good together, they almost don't have a single standout. Yeah. I think for me, Mac Hansen has been absolutely amazing. I think as a back three, beating defenders for fun, scoring tries.
Whereas I'm more of a James Lowe man, so we can finally have a disagreement
on that. But we'd say in terms of a back three, they've got a great back three.
Unreal.
I think Ramos has built really nicely. I thought he had a pretty average game against Italy. I thought he was good against. I thought he was good against France, against Ireland. I thought he was good against Wales. Against England, he's been brilliant. And Wales, he was brilliant. Yeah. He's built as the tournament's gone. So do you know what? I'll agree with you on that. Ramos for back of the tournament. So Negri and Ramos for us.
Nice.
Clown. Who is it?
I don't think we can look any further than Jack Rossiter, can we?
You're not giving it to me for just one pod. No, not for Clown of the tournament.
We spent half an hour to 45 minutes
do you know what, you
recording a pod.
Ladies and gents, you may not get a pod because I'm going to make this bloke produce it this week, so not a chance it's going to happen.
Well, who are you going for? Who's been more of a clown than you over the last 6 weeks?
I was about to say, I said at the beginning I can't give the IRP. Do you know what? I'm going to give it...
Well, I was going to say, let's think back on who we gave it to in previous weeks. So we gave it to the Italian band, we gave it to the English defence for the Van der Merwe try.
We gave it to the English public for believing we could beat France. We gave it to Wales as... Do you know what? No, that's very easy. WRU.
Yeah.
They have made the biggest headlines the whole way through this. They have undermined what should have been an exceptional tournament with all of this dross around sexism, misogyny, regions cutting players' contracts. It's the WRU, they're terrible. I think that's a relatively easy one for me.
Fine.
Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, that moves us quite nicely then. You and I, Fantasy League.
Yeah, that was easy.
Well, yes, okay, you've come third overall. You've beaten
Cheers.
me in the end, but I've beaten you in the last week, so it's a pint apiece.
Yeah, pint apiece. When are we going to do that on the cruise in September?
You're going to hold it that far? I think we'll have to do it. We'll have to do it on. We'll have to do it on the next company night out.
Fine.
Get someone else to video it. Race off.
Yeah,
See who
that's
wins.
fine.
You're going to win comfortably.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Yeah, so Fantasy League I think went brilliantly. I shot myself most definitely in week 5. I picked very wrong, went rogue, picked far safer this week. And we were actually very tight.
I annoyingly didn't have a great week this week. I mean, I obviously finished third overall, but
I think your week 5 was the opposite to mine.
Yeah,
you tore up that week.
Yeah, I actually I think basically you had to pick Penno this week, which I
did, and again, said it every week. I thought about captaining him. No, I didn't this time.
Yeah.
Would have been really good if I had. He smashed it this week, but yeah, he's another one we haven't mentioned as a potential back of the tournament. He was so good.
And we didn't mention Finn Russell, who started the tournament obviously very well.
And I think the fact that the way that the Scots approached the fact he wasn't playing says just how talismanic and how good he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Right, Badger business. We're going to start with a question that we finished off with last week, and I obviously lost. So you've got them on there, there was one Clive Woodward.
Yeah. So this is from a chairman. Has 2005 Lions head coach Clive Woodward been out of the game for far too long to make an imminent return to a coaching at international level for a Tier 1 nation?
So I'm going to stick with the same answer I went with last week, and that whilst he did brilliant things to the game, and he moved the game on so well, I don't think he quite has what it takes anymore.
I think we both agreed. You only have to listen to his punditry to realise the game's moved on far too much now. I think last week you mentioned all the stuff he brought in around the time, skin tight shirts, all the stuff you mentioned. The game's moved on now. That was 15 years ago.
That's the thing. I think he was the first man to look at that, the whole British cycling 1% side of things for rugby, and I don't think that works anymore. Every club has someone like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can go too far away from the grain now. That is just a standard. And whilst I think I was about to say he's brilliant at punditry, he's probably not. He sends me to sleep awful. A little bit. Stick with his often speaking, I'm afraid. Legend of the game, but game's moved on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I've got an additional point to that though.
Go on then, add another one.
So then thinking about Clive Woodward, and then obviously you look at someone like Andy Farrell, and then the new coach in New Zealand, what do you think of the new wave of coaches? Right guys, so as you can see the camera angle has changed, which would you believe Jack Roster, who tried to wriggle out of clown of the tournament for his tin pot organisation of his cruddy cameras and microphones, look at him. We've only gone and ran out of battery in one of the cameras, so we're now having to record off one. Explain yourself, sir.
Guilty as charged.
Punishment, 5 PC.
I'll take your pint, I'll take a 5 PC. I'll take both the pints.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Excellent. Okay, carry on with Badger business.
So the second question came from Ollie Garcia Warren on our Instagram page. This one was, why haven't we put many Scottish players in the team of the tournament? And has Steve Tandy's defensive job at Scotland gone somewhat under the radar?
That's not a bad point. I think he's ended up a bit unlucky there. I think in terms of Scotland, and he raised a good point. Scotland have been brilliant, but whilst they've elevated, I think the French and the Irish have elevated just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Duhan was great, but let's be honest, everyone's raving about him because of a tin pot English defence in that first game.
Yeah.
I thought he did finish a brilliant try in that Italy game. I'd argue possibly the finish of the tournament with Garbisi on him. But Hansen and Pinot have been a joke. Hansen and Pinot have been amazing, and you're not going to play him at fullback because you've got Ramos and. You can't change anyone else. I'd argue he's actually not even next in. The next in would be James Lowe.
Yeah, I agree.
So, tough one. I think the forwards had a tough rep as well. I think, again, Gray has been brilliant, but you're not going to take Ryan out. You're not going to take Flamand out.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Lions, you probably put him. His argument is, can he stay above Chesham and Itoje to take a Lions spot?
Which I don't think. I think Chesham had a good tournament in terms of proving himself and coming into the squad, playing well. Maro did grow into the tournament. I don't think by his
poor by Maro's
well,
standards.
this is what I mean. By his standards, he didn't play that well. I think he did slightly grow into it, but it's still not great. But yeah, I think with the Scottish players, who are you going to replace realistically? Looking at that team we picked, so
100%. And what I think he makes a very good point about defence coach. Their defence has been really good, actually. If you look at the points they've conceded, I think they've probably conceded, bar Ireland, the least against France.
Well, if you look at that France game, they obviously had a man sent off pretty early doors. I think in the first kind of 5-10 minutes, they went down a try and were just kind of shell-shocked by a kind of powerful French pack. Grew back into it. Obviously, France lost their man as well, but I think Scotland had a good tournament. So
I'll tell you one thing: they've got to keep Gregor Townsend on.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't confirmed that yet, have
no,
they?
everyone's keeping very coy about that. So I don't know whether there's something going on behind the scenes to suggest he's not going to take it or he's not going to.
Well, he said he wants it. He said he wants it. The SIU just haven't confirmed it yet.
Seems a strange one.
It does seem.
They're definitely on the upward curve.
Yeah, there has to be a Badger question, surely.
There is a Badger question this week. Obviously, actually, funnily enough, he missed his deadline for his question last week, but due to us not filming it, he didn't miss out. So, Badger business this week is: when will the Badger be allowed to make a cameo for Badger business? And secondly, are England good enough to progress through to the knockout stages of the Rugby World Cup without changing their playing style from the Leicester way?
Let's answer the first one. Badger, you are welcome whenever you'd like.
Yeah.
Can we go and film? He works at Saracens, doesn't he?
No.
Oh, that's upsetting. Well, let us know, Badger. We'll get you on.
Yeah.
I thought that's how you knew him.
No.
If we don't move away from the Leicester way of playing, we will lose to Argentina and we will be pushed by Japan.
I'm not convinced. I think we beat both. I think if you look at that Argentina game that we lost to recently, it was raining. All the games we've lost recently, if you actually think about it, have been in torrential rain and we just haven't played very well.
Let's just hope France is
Let's
hot
just
and
hope
dry.
it's hot and dry.
Well, you go by 2007 standards, the vast majority were, so that would work.
Argentina are a good team. Again, I don't know who they've got in terms of kind of pre-season games before the tournament, but I think we'll be fine, and Japan we should brush aside as well.
Fingers crossed.
Playing the Leicester way?
No, still out of it.
So I still think we'll beat those two teams, but I think when you actually get to playing a better team like South Africa who will do the Leicester way properly, that's when we start getting bullied a bit.
Yeah.
So once we get to the more powerful, dominant forwards, that's when we lose. I mean, look at the recent performance against France. We were bullied.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We might get through the groups just. Semis, quarters will be interesting, especially if we play Australia, if they play an expansive game. Semis.
Well, it'll be interesting. Eddie Jones knows every single thing about us.
Well, the other thing is Eddie Jones is Steve Borthwick's coaching mentor, so could potentially read him like a book. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't see us beating the likes of France, Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa in that semis if we play like that.
No. But then
will we beat them if we don't play like that is the question.
But then people said that ahead of the 2019 final against New Zealand. No one gave us a hope.
But we played completely differently.
I know, but we turned up. So you never know. Things are possible.
We'll see. Any more questions or is that it?
That's it. That's it. So that kind of concludes this year's...
Well, not this year's, but the Six Nations.
Well, the Six Nations podcast. So we'll hopefully do one kind of back end of the summer leading into the
World Cup.
The World Cup, and then we'll do a daily one from the top deck of the cruise.
Well, our 4 viewers will get to see you on the football version.
Top deck.
Well, the top deck. But our 4 viewers will see you on the football version. Bore off. And I'm going to be gone for a little while.
Until cricket.
I'm taking cricket.
Top man. So you owe 2 pints and we'll wrap that up there.
Till next time.
Till next time.